stock this morning. In fact, I bought, what did I buy? I think I bought some Spotify. I added that to the portfolio. And then also, in fact, there's a Russell 2000 index. I can't remember the ticker symbol. Let me see here. Yeah, it's a small stock index. It's up a little bit today. The ticker symbol's RUT, RUT. So I'm gonna go get caught in the rut, and I'm literally gonna add that to my portfolio right now. And this is something that I really want you to kind of get used to. I want you to get used to investing every day. If you're gonna be a wealthy person every day. Don't act like a broke person. 6 days out of the week or 30 days out of 31 every month, and then expect your life to change. You have to act like a wealthy person. And right now, wealthy people, smart investors are putting their money into the market and preparing for the next stage. So don't get caught up in what's happening right now. That's not, in my opinion, all that important. What's really important is financial consciousness. Let your consciousness kick in. That's why we call this class financial consciousness every day, because your consciousness means you have an awareness and an understanding that this too shall pass, and you're looking at the bigger picture. Give me a yes if you agree. Give me a yes if you understand. Give me a yes if you get where I'm coming from. All right. So first thing I want to mention also is don't forget that tonight we're doing our financial slumber party. And that's where we play music, play games, have fun, and learn finances. And I'm going to do a detailed training on storm-proof investing, how to invest during the storm, specific steps you can take, mechanics. I have slides put together that will explain to you everything you need to know about how to make it through the storm and to profit from the storm. Now, mind you, if you are already a member of the Black Stock Market Program, you can get in for free. There is a fee, and I'll put the link in if you want to just do a one-time fee and get lifetime access to the slides and everything else. Our financial slumber parties are a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun. But if you want to get in free, you can do that by joining at drboycestockmarket.com. The first month is free, so you do a free trial. You can get in for free tonight, or you can also join the options class at drboyceprime.com, drboyceprime.com. So feel free to join it. Yeah, Prime members get in free as well. So if you're Prime or if you are in the stock market program, this is for you because I want to focus deeply on stock market investing. I think this is a great time to do that. And so let's talk about this crash. Let's talk about this decline. Let me know if you've been following this. Have you been paying attention? Did anybody see what happened to Bitcoin? How many of you know what happened to Bitcoin this week? Give me a yes in the comments if you saw Bitcoin's really precipitous drop. I mean, Bitcoin is really scaring the shit out of people. Excuse my French. It's really it's dropped I think to 83,000. It was at like 128,000 or something like that. Now, when that happens, here's what uninformed people say. Uninformed people will look at this and they'll say, "Oh my God, like okay, you were telling us just a few months ago that Bitcoin was going to hit 200, 300,000. And now look at it. It's collapsing, it's declining, it's down to 82, 83,000. And what could be happening is some people believe that it could be a crypto winter, but it depends on how you kind of define what a crypto winter actually looks like. I'm going to pull up on the screen so you can kind of look at it. Let's see here. So if you're not in the Zoom, you may not see the screen, but if you want to join the private Zoom, text the word morning to the number 87948 and I'll invite you to the Zoom. All right, so here you can see the price of Bitcoin year to date. It's actually down this year. It's down 9.5%. The last year, and if you held it for a year, you just lost a crap ton of money. At least you believe that you have. Now, if you've had it for 5 years, you've made a lot of money, 352%. So what's happening here is you're having an issue that seems to be directly related to something that I've mentioned before that doesn't get discussed a lot in investing, which is liquidity. What happens when the market starts dropping is that you have everybody's trying to scramble to stay liquid because you're it's like a fire. When your house is on fire, you're looking for water. So imagine if you have a house and you live in California and you think your house can never burn down. So when people say, "Hey, let's put water in a reservoir nearby to keep everything safe," you say, "Oh, it's no big deal. We don't need to do that because the house is never going to burn down." Well, what happens when the house catches on fire? Well, when the house catches on fire, you're scrambling trying to find water anywhere, right? And so, to some extent, the water in your portfolio is your cash. That's the money that you need to make sure that you don't get killed by a margin call. and go into a forced sale. A lot of assets get lost. Did you know more businesses fail? Write this down. More businesses fail due to liquidity problems than there are that fail due to profitability issues. Jerry Jones almost lost the Dallas Cowboys not because he didn't want to own it, not because the Cowboys wouldn't eventually become a valuable franchise, but because he was going to run out of time. Right? He was in this rebuilding phase where he was trying to get the team to be better. And so 1989, they sucked. 1990, they sucked. 1991, they sucked. He was about to lose the team. So, eventually 92, 93, they won Super Bowls, and then the Cowboys became this amazing franchise. But before that, he almost went the same direction as the previous owner of the Cowboys, who also didn't want to lose the Cowboys, but he had to sell them because he basically got a margin call. Right? See, this is the thing people don't know about rich people. This is another little factoid that you may some of you know this, some of you don't, but I'm gonna say it just in case. Let's say it in a certain way. Most rich people are rich because they have debt. So like don't when you hear the Dave Ramsey argument that debt is bad and you want to be debt free and all this other stuff, that's what he's really saying. And Dave Ramsey, I like Dave Ramsey by the way, so I want to make it clear I'm not criticizing him. But what he's really doing is he's saying, look, debt is that's grown folks' money. Debt is for people that know how to drive financially. Debt is for people that understand how money works, right? They know how to take the debt and turn it into something better. So what's happening is what he's saying is it's like he's saying, don't drive a car because you're going to be in an accident. He's not saying cars are bad. He's saying a lot of people are getting cars and they ain't got a driver's license and they're driving blind and driving drunk and they're driving themselves into walls. So he's saying, look, you're safer just walking because you like to get drunk and you don't know how to drive. Well, a lot of you aren't in that position. A lot of you have educated yourselves. A lot of you have learned not just financial technicalities, but you've learned economic discipline. You've learned financial consciousness. And so if you were given, say, $10 million worth of debt, you would actually know how to use it in a constructive way. I take pride in that because I'm one of your teachers and I'm happy to be one of your teachers because I believe that this is I know what I know and I know that you knowing a piece of what I know is going to help you. So debt is a good thing in the sense that most wealthy people have debt. Most investors have some type of debt that's driving their scale. It's not just ownership of capital that's important. Ownership matters at the end of the day, but it's really access that matters as well. Do you understand? It's not just what you own, it's also what you can control. And sometimes you control things until you can own a piece of what you control. Right? See, our problem is sometimes we want to get into positions of control, like we want the fancy job and we want to be the senior director and we want them to appoint us as the vice president, but then we're not thinking about ownership. Ownership's the long-term goal. Because here's what ownership does. Ownership gives you a backstop and a protective mechanism in case your control is taken away from you, right? So anybody, all the fancy Negroes in the room who've had fancy jobs that were taken away from you, and then you were mad because you're like, oh, every time I get an opportunity, white folks take it from me. Well, that's because you didn't own nothing, right? Because if you're an owner, they can't take it from you. Why do you think Elon Musk is fighting with his shareholders to say, I need you to renegotiate my contract because I need to control this thing? Okay, why do you think Mark Zuckerberg controls so much Facebook stock? And he didn't take just a small stake in this company. He could have got more cash for that, but instead he said, no, I need to have enough control so that when I just start driving in a different direction, you don't have the ability to tell me to turn the car around. So that's why Zuck was able to change the name of the company to Meta without asking for the board's approval. He was able to go and make massive investments in AI without having to get anybody to say okay, because he has that balance between control and ownership. He controls it and he owns it, which is the ultimate form of control and power. But he also uses things like debt to accelerate the amount of capital that he can control. He uses equity to accelerate that which he's able to control. That's why he's in the public market. If Facebook had never gone public, Zuckerberg's net worth wouldn't be 200 billion. It might be more like 1 billion. Okay. So literally, so where am I going with this? A lot of your economic engine in America and beyond is heavily connected to debt, right? And what tends to happen is that when happy days are here again and the market's taking off and a lot of money's being made, people go deeper and deeper in debt to get more and more leverage so they can get more and more control over more and more assets. And that's okay to some extent, But if you're not financially conscious and you're not preparing for the fact that the party might come to an end, and you're not Warren Buffett conservative in terms of holding something back to prepare for the storm, then the storm's going to kick you in your ass. Right? You'll be out on the beach butt naked during a hurricane because you never thought that you might need shelter. You never thought that the sunshine was ever going to come to an end. So what's basically happening is that the sunshine has come to an end to some extent. The market's kind of given some turbulence. The hurricane has arrived, and there's people out there butt naked on the beach that are getting their butts kicked. So what's happening now, according to some experts, is that you're having a liquidity wash. All the people who did not prepare are going to get wiped out. They're going to lose everything. Why? Well, because they suffered from something that has been documented in thousands of academic research papers, which is investor overconfidence. The two emotions that will get you in the most trouble as an investor are fear and greed. You can't be a coward and you can't be cocky. The market will humble you in a second. And if you are scared, then you will never make any money. Scared money don't make money. You got to be able to withstand the storm, but never ever think that you are smarter than the stock market. And this is my argument I end up having with these young boys. And they like, oh, you don't know nothing. You call you a so-called professor. You don't know. I'm like, no, I know what it means to be 54 years old, and I've also studied 126 years of history in this market. Have you done that, sir? Because if you had, you would know that the market loves to humble you when you get overconfident. Just go look at 1929. A lot of overconfident investors were highly levered. They didn't have a plan B. They weren't liquid. So when those valuations crashed, they had to sell everything. They had to sell it all. So right now, in my view, what's going on right now is Bitcoin has dropped because of a liquidity issue. It's not related to the fundamentals of Bitcoin. Everything that I see about Bitcoin tells me that Bitcoin could easily be $250,000 by the end of 2026. No guarantees, but I'm investing in it right now. Okay. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is, right? So if I'm wrong, I'm going to pay for it. But this is the best belief I have based on the information I see. But what's happening right now is you have people that were highly over levered. You have market makers. Market makers are the people who create the market. They have to stay liquid. And so their liquidity is suffering. And when liquidity suffers, prices go down. Let me explain the mechanics of how that works. When you ain't liquid, what happens? Let me ask you all this question. Answer me in the chat because I want to make sure everybody's following me. First of all, give me a yes. Is this making sense to you so far? Am I making sense? Because I know when I get hyped, I went out to meet Tater, got me up early today because she wanted to make a Starbucks run, and I got a peppermint mocha. So when I drink my coffee early, I sound like a crackhead. So, but these are so good. Oh my God. All right. So it's okay. You're following what I'm saying. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. The liquidity thing. Let's go back. I was gonna make a point on that. Okay. So here in general, what's going on is, oh, here we go. Let me lay it out like this, an example that you'll understand. Let's say that you have a car that's worth, let's say that you like to go into debt and you like to overspend because massa gave you a good job and you making 150K a year on the corporate plantation, and you do what a lot of people do. You live in paycheck to paycheck, your credit cards are maxed out, and you have a whole bunch of like material things that have value, right? So let's say that you got you a Benz that's 100K, or let's say 80K, something like that. You got you some really expensive jewelry. Let's say, I don't know, you have some really nice furniture and really expensive clothes. Okay. And then let's say that unfortunately, like one day your boss just decides to remind you that you're black and they fire you from your fancy job, right? And so you had all these plans on what you were going to do with the money because you went to Duke University and got an MBA and were making six figures. But now you're sort of distressed because now you got to figure it out, right? Let's say you're single and you don't have any extra streams of income. You don't have a side hustle. You don't have any money coming in from anywhere else. You don't have any. You didn't. When you saw Dr. Boyce talking about stocks, you ignored him because he's an idiot, right? And so you're kind of stuck, right? So what do you have? What can you do? But remember though, you still got to pay bills. The kids still got to eat. You still got to find a way not to be homeless. But so what do you have that will have to help you survive? What do you have? Well, you've got an expensive car. You got expensive furniture, you got expensive clothes. And let's say that you're cute. Let's say that you got a big fat man down the street who's willing to sleep with you and help you, cover the rent if you want to, right? Or, I'm not saying you should do this. I'm not advocating for these things, but we know how the world works. We're all grown, right? So let's say that that's going on too. All right. So I want you to process how those decisions would get made, right? So on one hand, it's like, damn, I can't afford the payments on this Mercedes. So you got to sell the Mercedes and you got to sell it fast because the mortgage or the rent money is due because you live in Atlanta where everybody likes to pretend like they have more money than they really have, and you're paying 3,000 a month on this apartment and the landlord ain't playing with you. So you got this $80,000 Mercedes and the payments are, seven, $800 a month, whatever. Um, and you got to sell the Mercedes, you got to sell it quick. Do you think that you're gonna get the full value of that car if you sell it? Yes or no? Am I gonna be able to sell that Mercedes in a week and get the full $80,000 value? Yes or no? No, you're not. You're not. Why? Well, because time is working against you. Remember, in the world of finance, time is really important. Time and timing are extremely important. So, because time is working against you, you're at a disadvantage. So, you're going to have to sell this asset at a lower price than what it's worth, right? Because you're doing a fire sale. And then after that, maybe you're going to the pawn shop with the expensive jewelry that you bought, that Rolex where you can flex on Instagram and all that. If you go to the pawn shop and you need money by next Saturday, and you got a $10,000 watch, if you go to the pawn shop, are you going to get $10,000 for that watch? Yes or no? No, you're not. You'll get like 800 bucks or something, right? So what's happened here is that you have had an economic shock that has in your personal life created a liquidity crisis. The liquidity crisis was created from a lack of preparation. When people preach to you about getting the emergency fund, you didn't listen. When people preach to you about financial conservatism, you didn't listen because you wanted to floss and stunt and show off for everybody. When people talk to you about multiple streams of income, that was boring. Because Cardi B was live on Instagram, that was more important. When people talked about investing in stocks and real estate or anything that would give you some sort of financial security, that just wasn't a big deal, right? And then you got rid of your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your husband or your wife because they were getting on your nerves, and so you didn't think about the financial security that you might also be giving up by giving up a productive partner that can help you get through a tough time. So now it's just you and your one stream of income against the world. And now that one stream of income that was your last line of defense is now gone. So you are then stuck in a liquidity crisis. And I'm not making fun of anybody. If I'm striking nerves, please forgive me. I don't want to hurt your feelings. I'm not trying to be mean. I don't want you to go out and feel bad about your life. I just want you to understand how these mechanics work, and then you apply that to the larger market. There's millions of people that do this. This is America. We're trained to do these things. So what happens is you have the economic shock that leads to the liquidity problem. Oh my God, I got to sell. I need cash right away and I got to sell stuff fast. So, as a result of the liquidity crisis and solving that problem, you then have to make price concessions on your assets. So now that $10,000 Rolex is not a $10,000 Rolex, it's an $800 Rolex because that's what you got at the pawn shop for. Prices in markets are set by the trade. They're set by how much the buyer and the seller agreed to. They're not set based on fundamental value. They're not set based on what I think it's worth. They're not set. You can argue all day and say this Rolex is worth 10,000. The pawn shop guy's gonna be like, no, it's worth $800. That's what it's worth because that's what I'm paying you. So it was worth 10,000 in your head, but it's not worth 10,000 in this space. And we're selling here, right? So overall, this happens on a broad scale. This happens broadly. In crypto, you have a lot of people that were into the crypto hype, but they were too hyped about crypto. Do you understand? Like I've been a big believer in Bitcoin. I've been a bigger investor in Bitcoin. But one thing I've consistently said is that I don't think a portfolio should have more than 5 to 7% of its assets in Bitcoin. I think if you go bigger than that, you're taking a chance. Right. And so when you have these stories that pop up in the news where somebody says, hey, I got everything I own is in Bitcoin, I say, I don't think I would do that. I don't. That's you're violating one of the fundamental rules of investing. But again, that perspective is one that's more built on security, that more so than absolute prosperity, because the people that end up making tons of money a lot of times are the ones who were willing to risk it all. And it's okay for you to risk it all. Jerry Jones talks about how he bet all his money on one oil well that gave him the money to buy the Dallas Cowboys, and he put all his money into the Dallas Cowboys, and now he's worth billions. But what you always have to remember is that for every one person that took the gamble and won, there's 1,000 people who took the gamble and lost it all. So you got to just decide where you want to be in the whole process. That's it, right? You just got to decide how you want to play this game. So really, I would say that right now, what's going on in this market, and this is where I give you hope in terms of making money, is that I think right now there's a liquidity issue, and it's causing prices to drop because people are doing fire sales. They're going to the pawn shop to sell their assets. They got to sell by any means necessary. And that is a massive advantage for the patient. And patient, not hospital patient, I'm talking patient people. Warren Buffett always said that wealth is nothing more than a transfer from impatient people to patient people. Wealth is nothing more than a transfer from unconscious people to conscious people. That's my translation. Conscious Patience is a part of consciousness, but consciousness consumes all things. It's seeing the bigger picture. It's vibrating on a higher frequency. It's always remembering the big objective, right? It's knowing that this too shall pass, right? So consciousness, which is what we talk about every day, literally is one of the great keys to building wealth. So if you're a conscious investor, then this should not shock you. This decline should not throw you off like, oh my God, I never thought this could happen. Because if you're conscious, you already processed this. You already thought about it like, oh, well, this market's doing pretty well. It could go south. We've been talking about it all year. I hope you heard me at least one of the 50,000 times I said it. So now it's happening. Now you're like, ooh, that big storm that I was thinking about all year, it's here. Oh my gosh. So your consciousness hopefully may have led to some degree of preparation, which would mean that even in the middle of making all this money, you had something put to the side. You had a plan B in place. Maybe that means you bought put options. Maybe that means you sold some out of the money call options. Maybe it means you just kept some cash on the side. Maybe it means you just sort of prepared like what you would do if that happened. And now people like that are able to eat better than everybody else. People that are prepared are able to take advantage of those who are not prepared. And I want to be careful because I don't want to say it as in a predatory way. I'm not asking you to be predators, but I'm not gonna get mad at you for being more prepared than the person who is gonna be forced to sell themselves cheap because they weren't prepared. Do you understand? Does that make sense? So what you're looking at in this market, in my view, is a liquidity issue. I, Nvidia comes out and they literally announce that they're making more money than God. They are off the charts in terms of how much money that earnings and out they could. Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia, is heavily frustrated because he's like, "Damn, man, what do I got to do to make you happy?" He's shocked that the stock market took its price down after those because it went up at first. Everybody was like happy, and then suddenly everything went down. Well, that's could be because the stock could be overvalued, even though they're making all this money. It also probably relates to broader macroeconomic indicators. So if one little catalyst pops off, if the Federal Reserve hints that they're going to lower interest rates, boom, everything takes off again. Uh, um, and so I would say that if you're a long-term investor, I think this is your opportunity. With Bitcoin, I'm definitely going to buy some Bitcoin. I want to buy the $83,000 Bitcoin because I believe it's going to become the $130,000, $140,000 Bitcoin all over again. And sometimes it's not even a matter of wanting to take advantage of the opportunity. A lot of it's a matter of being in position to take advantage of the opportunity. I talked to Tater this morning. That's our 15-year-old, and I was driving her to school. And you can only imagine the torture of a poor 15-year-old who has to listen to somebody like me every morning. Because I'm always thinking about stuff, and I'm overly hyper optimistic. I'm like, yeah, every day is a great opportunity to change your life, and if you want something, you can go get it. Like this, that's how I talk. I'm like walking motivational speech, but maybe that was my journey, right? I had I was sad in high school, and I was like, man, fuck that. I'm not trying to be sad my whole life. I want to be happy. I want to win. I want to feel good about life. So I'm sorry. That's just something that's just who I am. That's my brand of crazy. But one thing I remember telling her is I said, the reason I think you're going to be enormously successful is because you don't just want to do certain things, you're actually doing it, right? You don't just have the talent as a dancer and want to be a dancer, but you're actually imposing the discipline required to be a great dancer. I said, that's why you're going to win. You're going to succeed. And I just want you to see how great you are so that you can carry that confidence with you and get the most out of your ability. Right. So ultimately, when it comes to investing and the wealth and all that, we know everybody wants money. A lot of people even know how to get money. Some people do. But then it's like, but do you have the discipline to be prepared and to actually execute? Do you have the courage to execute? And do you have the discipline to be consistent in your execution? If you have those things, then and I told her, I said, if you have those basic elements in your life, then there's nothing you cannot have. You can desire anything because you know that that desire is going to be manifest into a reality because you know how to put gas in the tank. You don't just have the nice car, you know how to put gas in the car and drive the car to the destination, which is completing the goal. And I said to her, I said, guess how many people, I said, out of all the people that have New Year's resolutions, I said, guess what percentage of people actually keep their New Year's resolution? She said, what? I said, I think the number is less than 5%. So most people don't have that ability. Most people don't have the ability to connect what they want to what they're actually doing on a day-to-day basis to get what they desire. And typically it's due to some sort of issue related to a lack of consciousness or some emotional disposition that's not consistent with achieving the goal. They either get distracted easy, they get discouraged because things didn't go right, or they're just lazy, right? Like it's hard to do stuff you don't want to do, right? Right. So really a lot of the wealth building thing, it's very similar to like getting in shape and all this stuff. It's like you got to do the emotional work to tether who you are to who you want to be, and that is so hard to do. That is literally the caterpillar turning into the butterfly, and it's painful. It's very, very painful. I said, yeah. I said, I got up at 5:27 a.m. this morning. I went out and I ran 3.5 miles. I said, I did not want to do that. And she was telling me about dancing. She said, yeah, dancing's really hard. And I said, yeah. I said, I think everything that you ever want in life that's really valuable is probably going to be hard to get. It's going to be hard. I said, so like getting up at 5:27 a.m. this morning and running in the cold was very hard. I said, but watching my mother die from cancer and go through all that pain from preventable illnesses, from the processed food and her not working out, I said, that was hard too. I said, so really at the end of the day, it's like you just got to choose your hard. Which hard are you going to pick? Right, so I'm choosing the heart that says I'm going to work out now to at least reduce my probability of going through that hellhole that I saw my poor mother go through. But it's like everything going to be hard, right? So if you can, and I told her, I said, you got to embrace the hard. Just embrace it. Like embrace the hard, embrace the path. If you embrace the hard, then things are not as hard. You just say, look, this shit gonna be hard. I got to be uncomfortable. And what I have found, honestly, at the end of the day, I know I'm talking, it sounds like I'm not talking about the financial stuff anymore, but this is all related. Literally, I really truly believe to the core of my soul that everything you want is right outside of your comfort zone. That's it. Everything that you desire, all your growth, all your prosperity, all your success, all your happiness, it's right there in front of you, but your comfort zone is right here. There's a wall, and you're going to have to go over that wall, through it, under it, or something if you want to get there. So it's a personal decision. So that's my thought on that issue. And so ultimately, just to circle it back to the stock thing, let's be specific, so you can have some specific things to walk away with. I can tell you what I did. I bought lots of shares of Google. I bought lots of shares of Microsoft. I bought lots of shares of Spotify. Spotify is probably the riskier pick in the litter. I'm going to buy shares of that Russell 2000 index, RUT, R-U-T, because these are small stocks. Small stocks tend to benefit tremendously when there's an increase of liquidity in the market. So I speculate that once the liquidity shock kind of washes out, that in a couple of weeks, 2, 3 weeks, you could, not guaranteed, nothing's guaranteed, but you could see a really strong push in the market upward, and those Russell 2000 small stocks benefit tremendously when liquidity increases. They probably got crushed this past week. So those are some thoughts, and I hope that that's helpful to those of you that are investing. If you're new to investing, you're new to wealth and everything else, we have a beginner's class, blackmoney101.com. In case you don't know, we have 101 through 106, which is the Black Money sequence. 101 is an introduction to the power of money. Blackmoney102.com. Black Money 102 is investing in the stock market. 103 is starting a strong black business. 104 is how to buy a franchise. 105 is real estate, how to make wealth in real estate. 106 is systems and things like that that you need to build an organization. So feel free to go to blackmoney101.com and get started. Also, I'll put the link in here again if you want to join us tonight for the financial slumber party. And don't forget, if you are a member of drboystockmarket.com or drboyceprime.com, the options class, you can come for free. But if you're not, and you just want to buy a ticket and get lifetime access and bring your whole family, then click on that. So if you have multiple people in your household that want to join, you don't have to pay twice. Just pay once though, because we're running a school. We're building the next great HBCU. And we have professors and PhDs just like universities have. The big difference with us, though, is that we're very serious about Black ownership, Black economic power, and also integrating the wealth of the natural wealth of the Black family into the quest for economic power. And just as a side note, I spoke yesterday to Dr. Claude Anderson. He told me hello. He's not doing public appearances anymore. That's kind of done. He has a great wife that's really protecting him in that way, and I think that that's good. I wish they'd done that with Muhammad Ali. I didn't like seeing my hero out there looking frail and broken. I think Ali should have been taken out of the public eye earlier. Same thing with Jesse Jackson. I've known Reverend Jackson a long time. I wish I could tell his family like stop. Don't parade this man out here. Like let his legacy live. But anyway, Dr. Anderson's wife is really protecting him. But he did give me a message, and I want to share this message if you are interested in hearing it. I just told him I'd tell you guys. So two things he said that was interesting is he said black people should again, I know this is heavy. I know this is like a big deal. Um, it's a big deal in the sense that I know it's a little controversial, but I'm just repeating what he said. He said he believes black people should leave the Democrat and the Republican parties. He said both parties are not doing right by black folks and they should walk away. Just, and have their own independent space and then endorse candidates as opposed to pre-committing to any political party. That's what he said. Okay. Second thing he said is he said that we should live on a Powernomics philosophy and I agree with this, right? In America, money is power. That's it. Money is power. Everything else is kind of a substitute. But if you look at most forms of power in America and you look at the root, like who's really driving this thing, it's the money, the people that control the money. If you look at a Hollywood star and they're all famous and everything, and we make the mistake of thinking that the celebrity has all this power or that the famous rapper has the power, but the rapper doesn't have the power. The label has the power. The movie star, sure they have some star power for sure, but it's all backed by financial power. It's because somebody has went to a bank, they borrowed $100 million, and they poured that money into marketing and infrastructure to promote that brand. Just like you sell cans of Coca-Cola around the country, you can sell images of Beyonce, to some extent, right? So Beyonce is a product, just like Coca-Cola or Nike sneakers or whatever, and that's what makes Beyonce so powerful. It's not just because she's a beautiful black woman that can sing. You go to any church in America, you can find all kinds of gorgeous black women that can sing and dance and perform extremely well. So really, the money is kind of the key. And so I think that us focusing on the economic side and at least having enough economic strength to be financially independent, at least have enough economic power to not have anybody tell you what to do, at least have enough wealth to be sovereign and to be able to shape your own activities and actions based on what you want as opposed to somebody else's agenda. I think that'll go a very long way because I think that the world treats a free man and a free woman differently from the way they treat somebody who's just looking for a slave master, who's just looking for a big brother or looking for a benefactor. Looking so so look so having a whole community just looking for jobs and that's all we know how to look for. I think that puts you in a horrible position of weakness and vulnerability. And you see this manifest itself all the time. You see when they cut the job and how sad we are and how angry we are and how mad we are. And I gave you so much and you gave me nothing. Or I saw another woman who's explained accurately that black people, we're the most patriotic people in the world. Look at how bad America's treated us. And we've been so loyal to America. And I'm like, well, I don't, that doesn't make me feel good necessarily. It makes me feel like maybe I wasted some of my energy. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be patriotic. I'm not saying that, but it's kind of like, well, why would I pour into something that's not pouring back into me, right? Like at some point, maybe I just got to renegotiate the deal, right? So maybe that becomes leverage to say, look, we've been doing all this stuff for you for free or cheap, or we've been serving you all these years. Now, if you really want to be my friend, you're gonna support me as I take the next stage in my life. Like like the wife that paid for her husband to get through medical school. At some point, she says, "Hey, look, it's time for me to pursue my dream." And I need you to support me the way I supported you. When somebody says, well, I'm not going to do that, well, that tells you the nature of the relationship. The relationship reveals itself at that point because there's not clear reciprocity. There's not a symmetry in terms of loyalty and support. Do you understand what I mean? So I think that, when we talk about things like equality and freedom and fairness and everything else, fairness shows up as symmetry. It shows up as saying, look, if you want me to do something for you, then you should be willing to do the same thing for me. Because that means that we're equals. But if you expect me to do something for you and but you're not willing to do that for me, then that's an imbalanced relationship. That's you kind of telling me I'm your subordinate, and I need to understand that. And sometimes you are the subordinate, right? If you're showing up with nothing and you have no resources, no recourse, no plan B, no infrastructure, nothing that roots you or grounds you, no community to go to, then yeah, you are the subordinate. You are, according to Dr. Anderson, black people are economic orphans. Our children are tossed out into this economic system with there's no trust fund for the baby, there's no inheritance, there's no assets, he owns nothing. So all he's able to do is beg for jobs. And in fact, he's like the lady in Coming to America, where you've been trained to your whole life to do nothing but serve these other institutions because somebody wasn't conscious enough to say, this is not appropriate. We're not doing this. You're serving the family first, and then if you want to go out in the world, you can. But the family is what should be top priority. The community is top priority. That's who you're serving. You can be in it, but you ain't got to be of it. So ultimately, I would say that this is one of the reasons why, if you want to know what the Black Business School's core of three, we believe Black people should educate our own children, create our own jobs, support Black owned businesses. If we educate our own kids, we can shape their priorities, we can shape their agenda, shape their perspective, right? Look, this is where it's at. This is where the value is. Wealth is a perception. Wealth is something. If people don't see the wealth, then the wealth does not exist. Like beauty. If people don't see the beauty, then is the beauty relevant at all, right? So if you want to be seen as beautiful, you have to be in a place where people can see that beauty, right? And so ultimately, we as black people, we have a lot of beauty about us. We have a lot of wealth and power about us. In many cases, we can't see it. So if you can't see the value in something, then you'll throw it away. You'll give it away cheaply. Like if I have a baseball card that's worth $100,000 because it's rare, but I don't see the value, then I'm going to throw it in the garbage. I'm going to say, oh, this thing is getting in my way, right? So sometimes a consciousness of knowing how valuable this thing is a really important part of me extracting the value and benefiting from the value. So we lose a lot of wealth because we don't see it. That's my point. We lose a lot of wealth because we voluntarily give it away because we think it's worthless. And I think society does that. I think society teaches us that we're worthless unless we're validated. And wealth works the same way. Like if you have art and they send it to Sotheby's and they pull out the microscope and they're looking at it and they're like, oh, this picture of a bird. Oh my God, it's a Rembrandt and it's an 1842 or 1788 and blah, 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 and look at the textures. This is worth $100 million, right? This is what they validate the wealth. They validate the value. And people that believe in that, they're like, yeah, okay, so that I'll pay 100 million for it, right? So who validates you? Where does your validation come from? And I'm going to tell you, I don't think it comes from society. I don't think the world really validates the value of African American people at the highest levels. I think that we have to validate that. We have to validate our children. So like with Taylor, that's why I spent that all morning. I was like, I need you to know these things. I need you to know how precious you are. You know how amazing, how talented you are. And because I know sometimes when you're that talented, it can be awkward because you're trying to fit in with average, mediocre people. I said, look, I don't want you to be arrogant and cocky, but I need you to know why you're special. You got the talent, you have the desire, and you're putting in the work. So don't let nobody make you feel bad because of how amazing you are. I need you to go out and be amazing. I need you to see how amazing you are so you don't waste your time sitting around thinking that you're average. Don't, that's not going to work for you. Right? So ultimately, that was maybe in that space. That was me trying to support the validation process. Right? So anyway, with that said, I'm done talking. I hope you guys gained something from this discussion. But let's finish up for now. Tonight we're gonna meet for the slumber party. So it's going to start at 11 p.m. Wear your pajamas, bring some popcorn, and you can bring your kids and your husband or your baby mama or whoever you want to bring. And we're going to have fun, and we're going to do a full training on storm-proof investing. That's what the training is going to be: how to invest in the economic storm, how to make sure that your portfolio is safe when you invest. Again, if you're a member of the stock market program, you can come for free. Or if you want to come for free, you can do a trial in the stock market program. That's drboycestockmarket.com, drboycestockmarket.com. If you're a Prime member as well, same thing, drboyceprime.com. But also, here's the link in case you don't want to do either one of those, which is fine. You ain't got to do nothing. It's all right. I ain't here to pressure nobody into nothing. But just so you know that we can't do everything for free in the Black Business School because we ain't trying to go out here and beg for money. We're trying to build with independent wealth. In fact, I wish HBCUs had independent financing so they did not have to fold to other people's agendas. I think that a critical mistake that some of them are making is they're not producing enough entrepreneurs and they're not producing models of economic independence and security that will sustain them in the event that their benefactors decide to stop giving them money. You know, when Trump comes in or whoever or the next president comes in and they say, hey, we don't want to fund you anymore, you don't want to be wiped out because somebody decided they're not going to hook you up anymore. You want to be able to hook yourself up, and you got to teach that to your kids. Teach them how to be economically strong and independent and capable so that they have money, they can make money, and they know how to protect and manage money because that is the key to freedom. That will make you free as a bird in the United States is economic independence, Powernomics. All right. So shout out to Powernomics. Put the word Powernomics in the chat so we can honor Dr. Claude Anderson. That's my man. I talked to him yesterday and he sounded really good, but he's 90. So, you can only imagine what it feels like to be 90. But this man's the GOAT and he ain't got to get out here and do nothing. I let him know. I said, we got you. I said, I'm gonna be out here for you. I got a million soldiers and riders out here that'll be out here for you, and he will never die. That legacy will live forever. These ideas, you can kill a man, but you can't kill an idea. And this idea of Powernomics, not only is it powerful, but it's common sense. It's common damn sense. I don't care what your political disposition is, you agree that economic power is important. I don't care what gender you are, we agree that economic power is important. I don't care you rich, poor, educated, uneducated, from the hood or from the suburbs, northern, southern, don't matter. Economic power is important. Can we agree on that? Like, let's just stop there. We ain't got to debate nothing else. Like, so that's it. That's why we're here. That's why we're talking. All right. So God bless you. Go get your power. Go get your money. You deserve it. And it was an honor to speak to you. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And hopefully I'll see you tonight at the financial slumber party. All right. We're gonna have fun. All right. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye bye.